Welcome to the first Saturday of October, Saturday, October 5th, 2024. And today is the third part in our 90-day series, the first 90 days. And today we're focusing on days 61 through 90. As you all know, we start off our sessions with a quote. Take a moment to look at this quote as I read it aloud and let me know in the comments what it invokes for you or what resonates with you. Leadership is having a compelling vision, a comprehensive plan, relentless implementation, and talented people working together. That quote was brought to you by Alan Mulally. If you are new to the Culture Academy experience, please allow me to introduce myself. I am the CEO, founder, and the culture strategist slash culture queen, Dr. Q, or Dr. Kiana Obeng. And what makes me credentialed to talk about what I do? Well, as you can see from the chart here, I have 20 plus years of experience in the field of education. I also have experience, and it's not listed here, in the business sector as well, the private sector. And so I am well balanced when it comes to leadership. I have served as an accountant, I have served as a teacher, I have served as an instructional coach. I have served as an instructional systems specialist. I have served and am currently serving in the role of a building administrator. And I also served as a professional practice and improvement specialist, AKA a leadership coach. And this has been the culmination of over 20 years of experience. So when I tell you I know what I know, and I have receipts. Let's get into our objectives for today. First, we're going to reflect on our first 60 days, which was days 31 through 60. And we're also going to discuss the components of the last 30 days, which is day 61 through 90. As we're doing our reflection and discussing our next steps, I want to remind you of the scenario that we have used for the last 90 days. And we have used the scenario of a new leader to an organization or to a school community. We have already discussed laying the foundation, which is days 1 through 30. We also discussed last month strategizing and planning, which was days 31 through 60. And here we are once again, the last of the three sessions, days 61 through 90, implementing and monitoring. For days 1 through 30, we completed a checklist, and I'll give you a moment to look at the checklist that we completed for days 1 through 30. We were to complete learning and listening tours with all stakeholders. That's staff, that's parents, that's students, that's the members of the team if you're in an organization outside of a school building. We also wanted to review data and improvement plans that were already in place. We were to have one-on-one meetings with our staff, attend at least 2 to 3 community events, and identify short-term wins and challenges. In days 31 through 60, our checklist was as follows. We were to define 2 to 3 short-term goals aligned with the organization's needs, create a regular communication routine with our staff, drafted a framework for long-term goals with leadership teams, identified key staff members to mentor and or empower, and complete an initial evaluation of our first initiatives. Also, as we were reflecting, we looked at 3 questions during our first 30 days, that is, days 1 through 30. And the 3 questions were as follows. What are the key themes that emerged from the listening tours and surveys? Who are your key allies and what relationships need strengthening? And what systems and processes are working well and which ones need improvement? For our next 30 days, days 31 through 60, that we just completed, that was our strategizing and planning phase. And in that phase, we were supposed to be able to answer the following reflective questions. What quick wins have we achieved? Are we effectively communicating with our staff and community? How are our teams responding to our leadership? I want to pause here for a moment and just give you maybe about 30 seconds or so to think about those three questions. And if you need to, go ahead, take a picture of the screen because this is going to really ground our work for today. The time has come to day 61 through 90. And just like before, we have broken down our series into goals, into tools and strategies, and to key activities. So goals, key activities, and tools and strategies. So as we're entering the final phase of the 90-day plan, our focus is shifting from planning and preparing to executing and refining. The key is simply to implement the action plan, monitor progress as needed, and adjust, of course, and to also maintain open lines of communication with all stakeholders. This phase of the process ensures that we are laying the foundation to lead to tangible and impactful results. Now, what do we mean by implementing the action plan? Well, all this time we've been prepping, gathering data to see what's going on, and doing listening sessions just to hear what the folks are saying, what the stakeholders are saying, and using this data and this insight to craft a plan. At this point, we should have crafted a plan because we have a plan based on data. But here, my friends, is where our vision actually becomes a reality. This is the part where we get to execute the strategic initiatives that we've identified. We also have an opportunity to make sure that all of our stakeholders are aligned with the expectations because we have looped them in along the way. Our data, our insights that we gathered have all been from our stakeholders. And as a result, our plan is inclusive of all the things that we've learned. We're also, during our 60 through 90-day goals, are going to monitor progress and adjust as needed. We all know or should know that no plan is perfect from the start. As we are beginning implementation, we are to make sure that we're tracking the outcomes, whether good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. We want to document what's going on so we know how to adjust when needed. We're going to use the data, the feedback, the safe risk-taking opportunities to gather feedback and data, and therefore allowing us to address our strategies as needed to ensure what? Continuous improvement. And lastly, we want to maintain ongoing communication and gather feedback. Maintaining consistent and transparent communication is essential. How do we do that? We do that by making sure we're keeping our stakeholders informed of progress, continuously gathering their input, and also, my favorite, celebrate early wins because this helps to build momentum. Now, let me tell you about what this looks like in my real life. So, as you all know, I have recently taken a position as an administrator to a new building, a new community, new students, new staff. Although I've been a building administrator for years, this is just a new situation for me. And in the first 60 days, I have done all the things on the checklist that we have shared earlier on. And now it's definitely go time where we're actually implementing. And so I am the administrator that oversees some particular areas in my building. And I'm looking and listening to how things were done in the past and looking at ways that we can improve on those items. And so I have created an action plan for the different areas that I directly supervise. And I have, of course, gotten the feedback of the stakeholders, what went well, what hasn't gone well, how we can improve. And so let's just be transparent. Let's talk about the testing schedule. That's something that I'm managing right now. So we have a series of system-wide assessments that's coming up. And in the past, the faculty have done done things a little bit differently from what I'm used to. And so I presented to the leadership team two options based on what I heard them say about what their needs and their wants are for success. And so those two options, at first, let me just be clear and transparent. I was going to say, look, this is what we doing. But I realized that you catch more bees with honey. And so people are more apt to do the work that they had an opportunity to put their input in. And so we looked at the way things were done in the past as it related to the testing schedule. I kept in mind and held to my chest closely some ideas that I thought, and then created two scenarios based on what they provided me. And one teacher in particular decided that they didn't want to go the way everybody else was going, and they proposed something different. So, taking that into consideration, three options were proposed, and we are allowing the staff to determine which way they wanted to go so that when we go with that strategy, whether they like it or not, or agree with it or not, we're all on the same page that this is what the majority said they wanted to do. And so there should be very little to no blowback because we've established that everyone had a voice. Everyone was able to vote on the method to move forward, and now it's time to implement. And this particular scenario hits these three goals within day 61 through 90. So not only are we establishing day 61 through 90 goals, we're also establishing day 61 through 90 key activities, just like we've done in the past. So day 61 through 90, we want to focus on four things: implementation, monitoring, communication, celebration. Okay? So with implementation, we want to look at launching initiatives and providing resources. We just can't say this is what we're going to do. We have to provide the means to be able to do that. So with our initiative rollout, we want to make sure that what we're rolling out is something that we carefully plan. We want to make sure that we are providing the staff with all the resources that they need to remove that potential barrier for them not to be able to be successful. The provided resources could take shape in the form of professional development, materials, anything that they would need to implement the initiatives effectively. We also want to, during this implementation phase, empower our staff. And how do we do that? We empower our staff by delegating key responsibilities. We have to leverage the expertise in the building. Let them lead those things that they're super passionate about. They may feel very strongly about something. Let them lead. Empower them. This creates a culture of shared leadership. And again, my favorite words, leveraging the expertise in the building. Once we've gone ahead to launch our initiative and to implement, we're going to monitor. We're going to monitor by tracking progress, using data, and of course, making adjustments. We're not just collecting data just to say we're doing that. We need to use the data to make change. So the first thing we want to do is progress monitor. And that way, with that, we need to develop a system for regularly tracking progress towards our goals. So if you remember way back when we talked about initiating our KPIs, our key performance indicators, and how we're going to monitor that. That comes full circle right to what we're talking about now. And we can look again at a variety, of data points, but we actually have to not just look at it, but do something with it. We can also use informal and formal methods of collecting data. And some of this could be doing check-ins with our faculty and staff, because social emotional needs for staff is real, just like social emotional needs are real for kiddos. We can do, again, in the frame of a school building, classroom observations, data walks, anything that we need to do to see how well our initiatives are working. If we see that they're working, great. Get feedback. Ask the folks, the stakeholders, is this working? What can we improve on? How would you improve on it? What data do you think we need to collect? And then, of course, adjust the strategies based on the data that we've collected. We want to make sure that if something is not working, of course, we give it enough time to monitor it. But if something is not working, it is okay to reevaluate and adjust. This is just part of the process to find out what method works best for where you are. There's nothing wrong with monitoring / analyzing and adjusting. Nothing wrong with it. The next step we want to talk about is communication. And here's where we're providing regular updates and soliciting feedback. We can do this with internal communication, making sure that we're providing regular updates to staff, to students, to parents on the progress of our initiative. Again, this is in the mindset of a school leader. We could hold our staff meetings. We could hold chat and choose, coffee and conversation, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that we're soliciting the feedback and providing updates to our stakeholders. Not only do we want to do that, we also want to share successes and wins. This helps to boost morale and keep everyone engaged in the process. We also want to create ways to collect feedback. This could be surveys or needs assessments, focus groups, any way to get information from people. We need to do that because that will help us to adjust our strategies as needed. And lastly, we want to celebrate. Again, let me say it because it's one of my favorite things, celebrate. This is an opportunity to recognize and celebrate achievements. We want to celebrate the success and achievements of individuals, of teams, and again, through the school lens, the school as a whole. And this could be as small as you want it to be or as large as you want it to be. And by doing this helps boost morale and again, builds momentum. Other ways we could do this is by having like assemblies, school spirit days. All of this ties into the pride and culture of our school community. And so for this specific example, recently we just had a faculty meeting. We had a whole month of lots of things happening. We had our homecoming celebration. We've had some very successful drills. And everyone played a part in making those things happen. We had a plan, we monitored, we looked at some things that we could monitor and adjust and do better. We communicated how those things went out to the how they moved forward to the staff through our regular updates and solicited feedback. And for one of the feedbacks, we had a teacher actually recreate our fire drill safety plan because she noticed that things weren't as clear, especially as a new person comes to the building. And so she took the onus upon herself because it was something that she was passionate about to revamp or to revise. And it was highly successful and very much appreciated. That was leveraging the expertise in the building. And of course, at our very recent faculty meeting, we were able to recognize and celebrate the achievements and the contributions that our team members had made to make us better. And that's, my friends, is how we're kicking off in real time day 61 through 90's key activities. So we talked about the key activities, but what tools and strategies can we use during day 61 through 90? Talked a little bit about this on the previous slide. We want to make sure that we have a progress tracking system, feedback mechanisms, and communication platform. So for progress tracking systems, we can use the good old pen and paper, Excel spreadsheets, anything that we could collect, a system that we could collect that is communicated to everyone, okay, because it just doesn't make sense for us to know what we're collecting, and then being able to display that on a dashboard for everyone to see. When we're displaying the progress tracking system, the results on the dashboard, we want to make sure that it's visual, that it's easy to understand, and it keeps everybody accountable and able to participate in reading the data and doing something with the data. We also want to make sure that we have time to reflect on what the data is telling us so that we could do what, friends? Monitor and adjust. Continuous improvement should always be our goal. For feedback mechanisms, of course, we could always use surveys, we could always check in, we can always do focus groups, just to find out what's going on. A lot of times people don't want to fill out surveys or papers or needs assessments. They really do, believe it or not, value those one-on-one conversations. So go and check in with your folks. Make sure they're good. You don't always have to invite them to your office. You can go to where they are. One of the strategies that I've been using is by conducting a 3-question interview. I go to the classes of the teachers during their prep periods or their planning periods, and I ask them, hey, is it okay if I come in for a minute or two just to chit chat? They have the right to say yes or to say no. And a lot of times a minute or two turns into be a lot more than a minute or two, but that's okay. We get to talking about a lot of things, and then I ask them, hey, what's going really well that you want to see continue going really well? And what's something that you would want to see improve? And I tell you how much, I can't even begin to tell you how much information I garnered from those small check-ins. Okay, there is value in physically going to talk to someone face to face. And then lastly, let's look at our communication platforms that we have. Leverage social media platforms. Our school has a school website. We also have a school Facebook page. At companies, it doesn't have to just be schools. Take stock in the communication platforms that you have and don't limit yourself. Also, you have the good old emails, newsletters, whatever you need to do to get the word out. That's what we need to be focused on these last 90 days. So as we think about the last 90 days, or days 61 through 90, at the end of this period, the period of implementing and monitoring, we should be able to answer these 3 questions. 1, am I effectively tracking progress and using data to inform my decisions? 2, how well am I maintaining open lines of communication with my stakeholders? 3, have I celebrated successes and recognized the contributions of my team? So as a quick recap, takeaway, we have talked about our 90-day plan. We reviewed our first 60 days and we honed in on days 61 through 90, implementing and monitoring phase. We talked about the goals during this phase, key activities during this phase, and tools and strategies during this phase. At the end of the day, it all boils down to this. Planning is key. And KEY stands for Kickstart, which is initiate the journey with a solid foundation and clear objectives. Execute, which is implement the plan with precision and commitment, which we really focus on today. And Y stands for yield results. Achieve the desired outcomes through consistent and focused actions. And for this session, we reflected on our first 60 days, days 31 through 60. And then we also discussed the components of our last 30 days, days 61 through 90. So as you're thinking about all of the information and the real world examples that were presented to you, I'd like for you to take a moment and think about one key takeaway or insight that resonated with you the most and why. Of course, our call to action is this. Make sure you mark your calendars for our next Saturday school, which is Saturday, November 2nd at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you can't wait in between then and then, in between now and then, please book a consultation call with the culture strategist herself via our Calendly link. Again, don't just join, but be sure that you engage with us on all of our social media platforms. The commitments that I want you to take away today is make sure that you set your goals for days 61 through 90, that you look at your key activities and tools and strategies. And of course, this is a time where you get to drop any questions that you may have in the chat box. I want to remind you of a few packages that we have here at the Culture Academy where you can extend your learning. And so again, I just went over the Planning is Key package. We also have the Roadmap to Success package, also known as GPS. And that's where we sit and have 3 sessions where we talk about how to gather data and insights, how to plan objectives and KPIs, and strategize and execute. So that's basically our 90-day plan in a package form. Also want to make you aware that although we did this during the summer, this is definitely a tool that you can use whenever it is available or whenever you need it. And this is our 7 R's to Sensational Self-Care Bingo card. And so basically, if you send us an email, we can give you this resource. This is just for you to think about how to practice the 7 R's: rest, reset, recharge, relax, rejuvenate, refocus, rededicate. The 7 R's to make sure that you're keeping yourself first as you lead. We also have an It's a Wrap package. And this package is also known as our CPR package, where we celebrate by toasting to the triumphs, reflect by looking at our lessons learned, and then plan by being future focused. We also have the Land the Job package. So if you are an aspiring leader in whatever way, shape, or form that could be in a school building, that could be in corporate, that can be in private, whatever, we have a package just for you called Land the Job. And in that package, we do 3 sessions where we review your resume by doing a resume audit. We do some interview prep, and then we do a future plans session where we get ready for our first 90 days once we've landed the job. As always, I want to say thank you so much for your time, your participation, your energy, your viewership. I appreciate you so much for not just being a spectator, but an active participator in all of our social media platforms and all things the Culture Academy LLC. If you could just take a moment to scan this QR code, which will take you to our digital business card, and or you can follow us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Again, thank you so much for spending your Saturdays, your first Saturdays, with the Culture Academy. We greatly appreciate it. And as always, we'll see you next time. Bye.